Yesterday we learned about dividing using long division. That's not the easiest way to divide polynomials, but it's the way that always works. Synthetic division is a way that will work for only specific cases, but it's a little bit easier than long division. Synthetic division is an easier way to divide polynomials when you have a linear factor that you're dividing by. Now, a linear factor is a factor that has just x to the first in the divisor. The thing you're dividing by is the divisor, and if you have x to the first plus a number or just x to the first, then you can divide using synthetic division. So your first step when you're trying to divide some polynomial by another polynomial is to see if that polynomial you're dividing by is x to the first. If it is, you can use this new method, which is much simpler than long division. Here's how synthetic division works. Solve this for x. So if you subtract 2 on both sides, you get negative 2. Negative 2 is what you're dividing by. And then we're just going to write down the coefficients. The coefficients are the numbers in front of each variable. 1x to the third, so we just write 1. Negative 14x squared, so we write negative 14. We have to make sure that our powers are decreasing and that there's nothing missing. And in this case, that's a 1, and so there's nothing missing. So we have 1x to the third, negative 14x squared, so we write negative 14. 51x to the first, and then our last number is negative 54. If we didn't have an x term here, like if this weren't here, we'd have to put a 0 to hold that place. So you do need placeholders if you're missing a power. So you start with your highest power and then just follow along those coefficients and fill in a 0 if there's one of the coefficients missing. Then you draw a bar underneath, leaving space to write numbers here. We're going to fill in numbers under each one of these. And here are the steps. First, you drop down that first number. So step 1, drop down first number. Step 2, multiply your divisor, again that's the number that we're dividing by the number you dropped down. So I'm just going to call that the number in the bottom row. So we'll drop that down, multiply negative 2 times 1. Negative 2 times 1 is negative 2. You place that answer under the next coefficient. In the middle row. And then you add those two answers together. Add the coefficient, not two answers, but add the coefficient and the answer. And you put the answer down in this bottom row. So we have negative 16. Now, we're just going to keep repeating steps 2 through 4, until we reach the last number. The last coefficient. So negative 2 times negative 16, that's step 2. Multiply divisor by the number in the bottom row. Negative 2 times negative 16 is 32. Put that under the next coefficient. Add those two together. We get 83. Go back to step 2. Negative 2 times 83, negative 166. Add those two together. They're both negative, so we get -220, negative 220. The last number is your remainder. And what do these numbers mean? Well, these numbers are the coefficients for our answer. Since we divided x to the third by x to the first, what do you think the power is on this first number? It's x squared. Plus, the next number would be the coefficient to x. The power decreases. And then the last number will not have a power. So our final answer is 1x squared, or just x squared, minus 16x plus 83, remainder negative 220. So the answer will end up looking just like it did in yesterday's homework, but it was a little bit less work. Let's do another example. Divide x cubed minus 57x plus 56 by x minus 7. Notice this is x to the third and this is x to the first. We're missing an x squared term. So really our coefficients are going to read like this. 1x to the third, 0x squared, minus 57x plus 56. So those are the numbers we put in for our coefficients. 1, 0, negative 57, and 56. Leave a space underneath it. And then what are we going to put out here in this little box? Remember what we do. We solve this for x. So what would x equal? Adding 7 to both sides, you get 7. So we're going to put a 7 out there. Here are the steps. You drop the first number down. Multiply 7 times 1. The answer goes here. You add those two together. Your answer goes there. Repeat step 2. Multiply 7 times 7. You get 49. You add those together. Negative 57 plus 49, negative 8. 7 times negative 8 is negative 56. That answer goes there. Add those two together. 0. That's my remainder, which means we don't have a remainder. So x minus 7 goes evenly into x cubed minus 57x plus 56. What are the exponents on our variables? This will be 1x to the, we started with 3, we divided by 1, so x squared plus 7x minus 8. So my final answer is 1x squared plus 7x minus 8. No remainder, so you don't have to write anything. So remember what that means. When we're dividing, we're finding out this times what would equal this. That's what dividing means. So x minus 7 times this equals x cubed minus 57x plus 56. So this would be really hard to factor. But if I give you one of the factors, you can use synthetic division to find the other factor. Remember, we can only use synthetic division because this was a linear factor. It was x to the first. If this were any other power besides x to the first, we would have to use long division like we learned yesterday. The remainder theorem says, if you divide a polynomial, call it p of x, that has a degree higher than 1 or equal to 1, by x minus a, then the remainder you get is p of a. P of a. Think about what that means. P of a is if you take the number a and you plug it into the function p in place of the letter x, and you do all the calculating, that answer you get, that y value, will be p of a. So here's the translation of the remainder theorem. If you divide a polynomial by x minus a, the remainder you get, not the answer, the remainder you get, which is why it's called the remainder theorem, the remainder is the same as if you had plugged a into the polynomial. So let's review this. If I have a function p of x, 4x cubed minus 3x squared plus 7, p of 3 means take 3 and put it in for the letter x. So we could do this. This side, there's nothing to calculate. It doesn't mean p times 3. It means the function p had a 3 plugged into it for x. And this is the answer we got. So I don't know about you, but I'd have to get out my calculator. Powers first, so 3 to the third is 27, and then 27 times 4, I think is 112. I'm going to check that. No, I don't know where I got 112 from. It's 108. Good thing I checked. See, if I were there right now, you guys would be doing the math for me. 3 squared is 9. 3 times 9 is 27, and then plus 7. So my answer would be 108 minus 27 plus 7 is 88. So the answer I get when I plug 3 in is 88. And that I had to use my calculator for, or I would have had to do quite a bit of work off to the side here if I wanted to do it by hand. Well, mathematicians figured out that if I had just done long division, notice that p of x really equals, not long division, synthetic division. P of x equals 4x to the third minus 3x squared plus 0x, because I'm missing that x term, plus 7. So I can set up my synthetic division. The number out here is going to be 3. Just take that number that you would have plugged in and do a little bit of calculating. This calculating is going to be a little bit simpler. So you drop that 4 down, multiply 3 times 4 and you get 12. Negative 3 plus 12 is 9. 3 times 9 is 27. 0 plus 27 is 27. And then, oh, I have to do a little bit of math. 27 times 3. 27 times 3. 6 times 3 is 8. And 6 plus 2 is 8. So 81. And then 81 plus 7 is 88. That's the remainder. Notice it's the same as if I had gotten that. So just another way to find p of 3. You can either plug 3 in or just do synthetic division, and that remainder is going to be 88. All right, that's what the remainder theorem tells you. Here's your homework, page 308, 22 to 62 even. Skip numbers 40 and 42. I'll see you tomorrow. Have a great day.